This lesson covers optimizing the AD database and performing some basic directory service cleanup via the database. It is important to realize how powerful NTDS util really is. There's literally nothing it can't do related to the Active Directory database. For example, I can go in here and I can say roles. I can say my select operation target. And if I do help here, it shows me all the information I can get. For example, I can list my sites. I can list all of the roles for this connected server. So it's going to show me all the FSMA roles this box contains, which shows me it actually has all 5 of them. I can remove domain controllers. I can change domain modes. I can create domain partitions that authoritative restore. I can remove, for example, non-existent domain controllers, which can happen if you don't properly demote a domain controller. You may end up now having to manually remove that metadata from Active Directory. Well, you can do that within here. For example, I can list my sites again. So I use the list sites. I can select a certain site, so my lab, and I can list my servers in that site. So I can see I have 2 domain controllers. Well, I could then go in and actually select a particular server. Select server 1. From here, it's showing me information about that object. And at this point, I could, for example, list the domains related to this object. So I can say list domains. I could select that domain, 0. I could then quit out of here, and I could go into metadata cleanup and actually remove that selected server. So really powerful functions from within here related to sort of cleanup and actions. But there's other things that I need to do offline. Now, in the past, I would have to reboot my domain controller into Directory Services Restore mode before I could do some types of actions. That's actually no longer required. So I'm going to come all the way out of here. And now if I start my services.msc, I can see my Active Directory domain services, which is actually the NTDS service. Now, the service is normally running. This means it's being a domain controller, it's performing all its normal tasks. I can boot to that Directory Services Restore mode, which means you log on using your Directory Services Restore password, and you can restore system state, really do anything you want to it. Or I can stop this service. It's going to stop all the other dependent services, and it's now going to act like a member server. So it's got some characteristics of a domain controller, some of just a domain joined. But now I can perform additional options. So I'm going to fire up a command prompt. I'll go into NTDS util, activate instance, NTDS. And now there are things that I could do that I couldn't do before. So I can do an offline defragmentation of the Active Directory database. Now, by default, Active Directory will defrag online. It will keep itself pretty healthy, but maybe you've got event logs, maybe you've performed some testing and you know it's highly fragmented. Well, you can perform an offline defragmentation. So now I can actually go, for example, and do a compact to C:. And this is now actually performing an offline defragmentation of the database. So that finished. And it's now saying, okay, you finished that process. You should now copy it over the original one and then actually delete the old log files. So I can actually go onto the file system. I can see that new defrag database. I can copy it, or I could just say cut, go to my Windows, my NTDS, and now I can paste it. So I'm replacing that file. And notice what it also told me to do, and delete the old log file. So delete everything that's .log. So I'll delete those as well. So that was an offline operation, something that in the past I would actually having to boot from the Directory Services Restore mode. Another action I can do when the database is offline is I can mark objects as authoritative, something that I couldn't actually do before. So in this NTDS util, I could come out of the file maintenance and go into authoritative restore. And notice now it's not giving me any errors. So this time I could restore objects, I could restore subtrees, I can really do anything I want. What I can't do is restore the entire database. This is not a system state restore. I can't do that, but it does give me some nice capabilities. Once I was finished, I would then restart the database. So this time I'll do it from the command line. This is going to start the Active Directory database. If I go into services and I do a refresh, I can now see it's running. It's also started the Kerberos and those other processes that were previously stopped as part of stopping Active Directory. So this concludes the lesson on optimizing the Active Directory database and basic database cleanup operations.